welcome and thank you for being here. Um, Obviously, if you took a look at the title on the screen, you're going to see two phrases that we usually keep in completely separate boxes: mental health and metabolism. So shocking. We don't normally see them together. When most people hear the word metabolism, they think about weight, calorie counting, or how fast their body burns off that slice of pizza or cake or hamburger. And when people think about mental health, they think about chemistry in the brain, emotions, even stressful life events, right?
This is yours.
Today, I want to talk to you about how these two things are rooted together. We are going to explore how your brain health is deeply tied to how your body creates and uses energy. And by the end of our time together, you aren't just going to look at mental health differently. You're going to have a practical step-by-step path forward to completely reset your system. All right. But first, a little bit about me. I began my own health journey over 3 years ago when one night my husband found me curled up in my closet, begging for God not to let me wake up tomorrow. I was in the darkest place I'd ever been, and I knew something had to change. That was a very hard night for me, actually. And just as a slight aside, when I was sharing that part of my story on social media, a friend said, maybe God did answer your prayer, but in a way you didn't expect, or he renewed your life. He gave you a new life with the life that you had. He didn't end the life and just have you go to heaven. And that meant a lot. And I could see how God said, okay, that from this point on, you are a different person. Since I first began my journey 3 years ago, I have lost over 90 pounds, regulated my nervous system. I've eliminated many of my chronic health issues. And now, over that time, I also became a certified health coach and a non-clinical metabolic specialist. That simply means I do not diagnose and I do not prescribe medications. I approach your health through the lens of how your body is processing its energy. We look at your diet, your habits. We even review your blood work in labs and how your body responds to key nutrients. Okay, so enough about me. Let's get into it. And also, it's very important for me to share that all of this content is not meant to diagnose. It is for educational and informational purposes only. This information is shared to help you understand the foundational connections between lifestyle, diet, metabolic markers, and overall well-being. Okay, now let's keep going. So let's start with the basic question. What is metabolic health? Like, what is that? When I start telling people that I talk about energy and stuff, they're like, oh, that's, they start thinking like crystals and woo-woo stuff. But let's think of your body like a busy city, and your metabolism is the power grid. Every single cell in your body has tiny microscopic power plants inside. Like in the mitochondria, it's a powerhouse of the cell. Woo! The only thing we remember from biology class, right? Their only job is to take the food that you eat and convert that into energy. One second. I got people knocking on the door. Here we go. So they take the food that you eat and turn it into fuel. Second, your tiny cellular power plants are strong and produce plenty of steady energy. And third, your engine is flexible. Just like a hybrid car that can convert between electric and gasoline, your brain is meant to easily switch between burning sugar as fuel and burning fat as fuel. When this is working properly, you feel focused, happy, and energized. Okay, time for our first check-in. If you're with me, just comment in the chat. Give me a number 1. Let me know that you are in this with me. Yay, I see number 1s in the chat. Woohoo. Yay. I see you, ladies. I see you. Yay. Okay, good. Let's keep moving forward. Yes, 111. Okay. So right now, we are facing a massive mental health crisis, right? Yes. Conditions like anxiety, depression, and severe mood struggles are at an all-time high. For decades, we've been told that these struggles are purely emotional, a lack of self-control caused by random chemical imbalances in the brain. If you can relate to that, drop a 2 in the chat. If you thought like your anxiety, oh, you just have to get it together. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I just have to get it together. But despite more people taking medications and going to therapy more than ever before, the numbers keep going up. Why? Because we've been ignoring a massive piece of the puzzle. The brain is the hungriest organ in your entire body. It is hungry, and it doesn't cook its own food. Even though it only weighs about 3 pounds, it consumes 20% of your body's total energy. If your body's power grid is struggling, the brain is the very first place that it starts experiencing blackouts. But what happens when the power grid goes down? In our modern world, millions of people are walking around with engines that are struggling to run. So we're going to look at how our cellular power plants get damaged and how these broken systems start draining energy from our brains. So think of this way. Your brain is literally a toddler, constantly asking for something to eat and completely incapable of making its own meal. So with that in mind, how are we supporting our brains? To understand how the engine breaks, we have to talk about something. I feel like y'all can guess it. Insulin resistance. If you knew that I was going to bring up insulin resistance in this talk, could you just drop a 3 in the chat? And while you're dropping your 3s, think of your cells. Yeah. Think of your cells as having little doors with locks on them. Food breaks down into sugar, and the key, called insulin, opens the lock so that the sugar can enter inside and make energy. So this is something that's very clear. When we eat, actually, I hear the sound effect. My kid plays Minecraft. You know the sound that when we eat, chomp, 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 our body does not just turn it into energy. The food that we eat doesn't just automatically become energy upon consumption. It goes through this process of being broken down into itty bitty pieces, and then converted into sugar or fat. Our food gets broken down into sugar or fat. And then that sugar and fat is brought to our cells, and then our cells convert it into energy. So insulin resistance is when the locks on our cells get jammed up. The key, insulin, cannot open the door. The key can't turn, and the food gets locked out. The sugar can't get in. And there are 3 big jammers that act like super glue in those locks. So first, you've got inflammation. This is a quiet burning. When your body is fighting off poor habits, the constant friction blocks the cell doors from opening. It just can't. It cannot open from the inflammation. And there's inside the cell, there's inflammation happening too. Not just on the outside, not just on your tissue, not inflammation that you can see or feel. It doesn't feel painful necessarily, but it is blocking the door. It's too puffed up. The door cannot be accessed. Second, nonstop stress. Stress floods your body with sugar to help you run away from a threat. If you are stressed all the time, that sugar stays stuck in your blood, overloading the locks. And again, I've mentioned this before. When we're talking about stress, what cortisol, the stress hormone, where is that sugar coming from? If it's not coming from your diet, the sugar that your cortisol is getting, it is going to your bones and pulling up protein out of your bones, bringing it to your liver and saying, make me sugar. So then your liver takes in that protein, breaks it down, and converts it into sugar to just be floating in your bloodstream just in case you need extra energy. Unfortunately, that sugar is never used because you don't actually have to run from a bear. There's not actually danger. So, but having that chronically elevated stress is going to keep your blood sugar elevated, and that's going to lead to insulin resistance. The third is our diet, the food that we're eating. Processed sugars and chemicals act like a tidal wave. They completely overwhelm and break the locks over and over and over. that process of the diet, the food that we eat, that's constantly causing us to break the locks, will cause insulin to have to rise higher and higher and higher until it can't handle it. Our body can't handle it anymore. But here's the critical thing I want you to remember today. Knowing that these three things jam up our locks, we have to look at everything we put into our bodies. If we are taking a medication or following a medical treatment that actively accelerates insulin resistance, meaning it literally squirts more super glue into the locks, we have to pause and seriously reflect. Is a treatment truly a therapy if it worsens the foundational root cause of our sickness? We cannot heal the mind by destroying the body's engine. That's a fact. Okay. So for a second, I want us to zoom out just real quick. Even though today we are focusing heavily on mental health, your brain is not an island. It is connected to the exact same blood, the exact same heart, and the exact same cellular power grid as the rest of your body. When your cell locks get jammed up with insulin resistance, it doesn't just create a brain blackout. It triggers a massive domino effect across your entire health profile. So look at the chart on the screen. Insulin resistance is the hidden root cause driving the most deadly chronic illnesses of our time. Feel free to look it over. Drop in the chat the ones that stand out to you. I'm going to take a water break. So some of the things that stand out to me. Type 2 diabetes. This is what happens when the locks are broken, so broken that the body completely loses control of sugar. So insulin resistance, just so you're aware, is pre-diabetes. It is pre-diabetes. But your body is able to regulate the blood sugar just enough. Type 2 is when insulin has stopped being able to regulate it at all. Yeah, autoimmune conditions. Heart diseases and high blood pressure. The jammed locks cause your blood vessels to stiffen and to clog. So now you're having a hard time with regulating your blood pressure. And there's 3 or 4 different ways that insulin resistance causes high blood pressure. Fatty liver disease. The liver gets overwhelmed trying to store all the locked out sugar and turns it into fat. Your liver is the soccer mom of your body. It will create what needs to be created. It will store what needs to be stored. It will always be looking out for what the body needs. Always. It handles over 500 different functions in your body. So when people think that the liver is just like this filtration system, they're missing the fact that your liver is essential for your metabolic health, for your long-term health. And so now people are getting fatty liver disease, which used to be a condition of alcoholics. Now there's non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And not only is this being found in adults, it's being seen in young adults, teenagers, and young children because of our diet. Next, Alzheimer's disease. Scientists are now literally calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes because it is caused by insulin resistance in the brain. PMOS and infertility. This is in men and women are dealing with infertility issues because of insulin resistance. And then cancer. Excess insulin acts like a high-speed growth fertilizer for abnormal cells. So when you see this list, it becomes crystal clear. Insulin resistance is the core wildfire. If your psychiatric medication is driving up your insulin resistance, it is fueling the very fire that causes heart attacks, diabetes, and dementia. We have to treat the root cause, not just patching over the symptoms. Now, bring it back into our focus. We're going to connect some dots here. So what happens when the locks on your body cells jam up? It triggers a domino effect that lands straight in your brain. Very good. I see you guys popping up in the chat. Thank you for engaging. Yes. When your body becomes insulin resistant, your brain cells also stop being able to absorb sugar for fuel. This leads to what scientists call brain energy starvation. Your brain cells are literally starving for power. Again, remember, your brain is like a toddler. It is always hungry and completely unable to make its own food. Even if you are eating plenty of food, when your brain is insulin resistant, it cannot access any of it. To make matters worse, that extra sugar floating around in your bloodstream is triggering the internal fire, inflammation, and it travels up into your brain. So imagine now your brain is trying to work while your brain cells are starving, and they're also surrounded by smoke. They cannot communicate properly. This energy blackout is exactly what shows up in our lives as brain fog, intense anxiety, panic, deep depression, and severe mood swings. A broken metabolism directly causes a struggling mind. It starts at step 1. When your body cells locks get jammed up. Then step 2, the friction between those jammed doors causes swelling. This swelling or inflammation doesn't just stay in your body, it travels up into your brain. One second. I should commandeer someone to man the door because I am flopping back and forth. Okay, there we go. And step 3, because of the jam locks and swelling, your brain cells can't absorb sugar anymore. They literally start running out of gas. This is brain starvation. Finally, at step 4, the starved brain cells can't communicate. This is when the brain begins to glitch, showing up in our lives as anxiety, depression, mood swings. Mental struggles are often just starved brain cells. Now, I want to clear up a massive misunderstanding, okay? A lot of people think that insulin resistance hits your whole body at exactly the same time. Like once you're insulin resistant, you're insulin resistant. That's just I'm insulin resistant. They think if you have it, every single cell in your body magically is just jammed up. But that's not how it works. And this is the exact secret to understanding why it messes with your mood so bad and why some people have certain expressions of insulin resistance and others have a different. Insulin resistance actually starts in a very specific neighborhood. Usually it's your fat cells. Think of your fat cells as a storage closet. Eventually, the closet gets completely full. The fat cells get tired of trying to squeeze more energy inside, so they lock their doors and go completely deaf to insulin's message. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to store any more fat. They're done. So they put on noise-canceling headphones. They are not answering the door when insulin comes knocking. Because the fat cells are ignoring the message, your body panics. It thinks, hey, they aren't listening. We need to turn up the volume. So your pancreas begins pumping out massive, overwhelming amounts of insulin into your bloodstream just to scream loud enough for the fat cells to hear it. All they're doing is being crazy loud for those few cells that are insulin resistant. But here's the tragedy. The other cells in your body, maybe your brain cells, are not deaf yet. They can hear perfectly fine. So while your fat cells are sitting there with headphones on, ignoring the signal, your brain cells are being absolutely blasted by a megaphone of too much insulin signaling. So what happens to a brain cell when it hears too much insulin? It gets completely overwhelmed. High insulin signaling inside the brain forces your brain cells to overproduce stress chemicals, disrupts how you make dopamine and serotonin, and physically traps fat inside of your cells so you can't use it for clean energy. So you see, metabolic mental health struggles are a double-edged sword. On one side, some cells are starving because they can't get energy in. But on the other side, your brain cells might be glitching because they are being drowned in too much insulin signal. It is absolute cellular chaos, and it directly destroys your peace of mind. If you're still with me, drop a, where are we at? 4 in the chat. What number have we said yet or haven't said yet? Here we go. Yay, y'all are still with me. Let's keep it moving. So let's talk about a feeling that so many of us know so well. I think there's all women in this chat. So I think we understand anxiety. We usually think anxiety is just in our heads, or we're triggered by a stressful text, something our spouse said, right? But watch how a body problem turns into an emergency mind problem. Look at the graph on the right. When we eat highly processed sugars like cereal, white bread, or sugary drinks, our blood sugar spikes straight up in the air. That feels like a quick burst of energy, but what goes up must come down. Very soon, our blood sugar crashes down like a fast roller coaster ride. When that happens, your brain starves. It doesn't have fuel. Your brain panics and sends a massive chemical alarm, releasing emergency hormones like adrenaline. And adrenaline and cortisol are your 2 stress hormones that are both focused on the same thing, getting your body emergency fuel. So what does adrenaline do to your body? It makes your heart beat super fast. It makes your palms sweaty. It makes you feel shaky. We call that anxiety, but it is actually your brain screaming for food because of a sugar crash. We are accidentally giving ourselves panic attacks just by riding the blood sugar roller coaster. So if you look at that diagram, our goal is to maintain as stable a blood sugar as possible, just optimal right there. But what we end up doing is eating foods that spike our blood sugar, high peak, and then we crash down, and then we crave. So then we eat again, we high peak, and then it crashes down again, and then we have cravings, sugar cravings, and then there we go. And that is the roller coaster, the crazy cycle. We don't want that. Next, let's look at depression. And the connection that surprises almost everyone, your gut. Oh, feel free to take a screenshot of that diagram too, and to stare at it very closely. Have you ever heard of a gut feeling? That's a real thing. Your gut and your brain are connected by a massive biological highway. In fact, about 90% of your body's happy chemicals, like serotonin, are actually made in your gut, not in your brain, in your gut, And your gut is from your mouth all the way down the tubes, your stomach, your intestines, all the way to your anus. Yep, that whole thing is your gut. And then through that whole process is how your body absorbs nutrients, detoxifies, creates essential hormones, all there. But here's the problem. The standard American diet, also known as SAD, which is a perfect name for it, is packed with fake sugars, chemicals, and bad processed fats. When we eat this way, we are starving our good gut bacteria and feeding the bad ones. This creates a toxic, inflamed gut environment. Those bad toxins leak out. They travel up through the highway straight to your brain, causing quiet brain swelling. And they make you feel foggy, unmotivated, and deeply sad. You can't fix your mood if you're eating the standard American diet. You cannot. And the same food trap is what drives other major mood disorders and severe mood swings. So again, bipolar, PTSD, PMDD, all of these mood disorders, they follow the same framework. When you eat the standard American diet, your brain is forced to run on terrible fuel that is constantly turning on and off. So imagine trying to keep a supercomputer on and it's plugged in to the wall, but it keeps getting pulled out every 10 minutes. You plug it in, every 10 minutes, it gets yanked out of the wall. Eventually, that supercomputer is going to glitch. And when the brain is starved of steady energy, it completely loses its ability to stay balanced. This leads to massive emotional highs and lows. Your brain is simply trying to survive on a broken power grid. If we want stable minds, we must build a stable metabolic system. So how do we directly improve these things right now? It comes down to 3 basic rules. If you're ready to hear the rules, drop a yes in the chat. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, you're ready. Good. Here we go. First, we have to heal the gut by eating real, clean foods. And when I say clean, I don't mean you washed it. I mean it is simple ingredients that you understand. Organic where you can, grass-fed where you can. That is clean. We feed our good gut bacteria and we stop the internal brain swelling. Second, we must flatten the curve. We have to stop eating the fast-burning carbs that send us on the anxiety roller coaster. We want stable blood sugar. And third, this is the most exciting part, we can switch to ketones. If your cell doors and sugar locks are already jammed up, we can bypass them completely by giving our brains a completely different, clean burning emergency fuel made of healthy fats. This is the ultimate brain reset, and it is exactly what we are going to explore next. So if you're taking notes, this is how we do it. A path for healing. How do we fix it? We have to stop just trying to paint over the warning lights on our dashboard and trying to mask the symptoms with chemical fixes. We need to open the hood, fix the engine, and start a plan for cellular healing. And if you're like me, I know almost nothing about cars. So it can be really easy when you hear something rattling and not going right, you just crank up the music on the radio because you don't want to hear the rattling or the pinging or the binging, the bells, whatever. We have to open up awareness. The only way for us to walk in true health is to be willing to just acknowledge what we don't know and be willing to learn a better way. And hopefully I am here tonight to help you see the better way. So how do we heal our cell engines? We are using our cellular toolkit. It consists of 3 simple, powerful actions. First, rest your sugar engine. By cutting back on fast-burning sugars and processed carbs, we stop the internal wildfire and give our cell blocks a chance to clear out. Okay? We need to calm the sugar burning. Second, sleep with the sun. When you sleep on a regular schedule, your brain literally washes itself of toxins and repairs its cell engines overnight. Women need 7 to 9 hours of sleep every single day. Deep restorative sleep. Our brains build up literally garbage in the brain. Proteins build up in the brain that have to be removed, and they are only removed through sleeping. We need sleep. Third, build new engines. When you move your body, you force your muscles and your brain to burn off excess sugar and actually grow brand new, stronger cellular power plants. So this is something that's really important to understand. Your muscles are not just aesthetic, they are longevity. They are your ability to live a long, good quality of life. The sugar that's in your blood is meant to be stored in your muscle. But because many of us are not exercising, we're not building muscle, our muscles aren't our sugar bowl. So if every muscle has a dish that can hold a certain amount of sugar, as you get older and you're not building muscle, that dish gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And so now you have sugar floating around in your bloodstream and nowhere to store it. So then your body stores it in fat cells. And when your fat cells get completely overwhelmed, they store it in your liver. Regardless, if there's sugar in your blood, your body is going to find a way to store it. Okay, so it's either burn it or store it. Okay, let's keep moving. So what if your sugar locks are already badly jammed? This is where the magic of ketones come in. If you have heard me talk about ketones, drop a 5 in the chat. This is a very common thing that we've had to rehearse a few times over now. Ketones, woo-woo. When your brain cells are starving because sugar can't get inside, ketones, which are fuel made from healthy fats like avocado, olive oil, and nuts, this can bypass the jam doors completely. Ketones use a different door to enter your brain cells, supplying instant, clean burning energy. It is like plugging your brain into an emergency solar panel when the main power line is cut. It immediately lowers brain stress and brings your focus right back. Now, let's talk about how we actually switch the brain over to this cleaner fuel. This is accomplished through what is called a ketogenic or keto diet. But I want to stop right there and just put a massive warning flag. This is not your mainstream trendy keto diet, okay? We see on social media, it just completely took our friends and family by storm, where people might eat a bunless bacon cheeseburger just to drop a few pounds. Maybe they had, usually it was for weight loss, and then they'd gain it all back as they return to the standard American diets. And this is definitely does not mean that you're going to go to the grocery store and buy boxes of snacks that have the keto label slapped on them. In fact, most of those packaged keto foods are packed with artificial junk that will keep your cell completely jammed up. And they are still high in carbohydrates, even if they are grain-free. True metabolic therapy is entirely different. It is about biology, not marketing. To get your brain running on this emergency power, we have to ensure your body is actually manufacturing real ketones. We do that by tracking the actual production of ketones in your blood using a simple finger prick monitor, just like checking your blood sugar. Or some people will use a urine test strip to make sure that you're producing enough ketones. Either way, to make those ketones, you can't rely on boxed products. You cannot try to reproduce the standard American diet. It comes from eating a clean, very low carbohydrate diet. And carbohydrates come in the form of vegetables too, and starches. We cannot eat those things in large quantities when we're trying to maintain a new fuel source. Combined with plenty of healthy proteins and high quality fats like avocados and wild caught fish and olive oil, this is a precise scientific tool to rescue a starving brain. So in our upcoming challenge, I'm going to show you exactly how to do this safely, cleanly, and effectively without falling into the commercial food traps. So let's look at the data, comparing two very different choices we have when managing struggling minds. When you go down the standard medical path for anxiety and depression, you are usually prescribed SSRIs or anti-anxiety medications. We're talking about household names like Lexapro, Zoloft, or Prozac. If you've heard one of those names, drop a 6 in the chat. If a doctor diagnoses a more severe mood or bipolar disorder, they might prescribe mood stabilizers or antipsychotics like Seroquel, Zyprexa, or Abilify. Yep, I'm seeing you know these names. These drugs can act like a temporary mental blanket to numb the symptoms. But let's look at what's happening to the body over time. In the short term, patients frequently deal with immediate side effects like nausea, emotional numbness, intense fatigue, brain fog, and complete loss of libido. But it is the long-term, multi-year side effects that directly feed the metabolic crisis we have been talking about. Over months and years, drugs like Seroquel and Zyprexa heavily alter your metabolism, leading to massive weight gain, severe insulin resistance, and eventually type 2 diabetes. Because of this, when we look at large-scale health data, people suffering from severe mental illnesses face a heartbreaking reality. Their life expectancy is shortened by 10 to 20 years. And that's just compared to the average population. While the drugs themselves are designed to manage psychiatric distress, their long-term metabolic toll frequently accelerates physical diseases like heart failure and stroke. The standard path treats the mind by slowly breaking down the body's energy system. If any of that surprises you, can you drop a wow in the chat? If you didn't realize that the medications we're being prescribed for our mental health were actually exacerbating our metabolic health issues and increasing the risk for heart disease and worse. Now, let's look at the ketogenic metabolic therapy. Instead of introducing a foreign chemical to alter your brain chemistry, we change the fuel source. Yep, numbing poison, yes. The short-term side effects here are things like a brief period of fatigue or craving as your body switches gears. But the long-term side effects of a ketogenic diet, they're exactly what we want. Reversed insulin resistance, weight loss, lowered internal swelling, and a naturally protected heart. Most importantly, instead of robbing you of decades of your life, metabolic therapy gives your brain cells the exact power they need to heal, paving the way for a long, vibrant, and fully charged life. We aren't just trying to survive the symptoms anymore. We are changing the entire trajectory of your life expectancy and the quality of your life. Because I want to show you exactly how to do this in everyday life, I am hosting a 3-session insulin reset challenge. And I want all of you to join me. Over 3 simple sessions, we are going to fix your system together. We're going to do an energy check to find where your body is getting stuck and learn how to unjam your locks with real delicious foods. We're going to establish eating windows. We're going to help you learn how to craft a healthy plate so that you know exactly what to eat and when to eat. We're going to focus on cooling the brain fire, switching your system from stress mode into healing mode. And we're going to build your personal roadmap to make sure that your brain power stays fully charged forever. This is how you reclaim your joy and focus. These sessions are going to happen for the following Tuesday nights, same time, 8 p.m. There's going to be a time where I will be teaching, and there's going to be a large time where I will be answering questions. So as you unpack what we learned on week 1, you will be able to ask any questions that came up for you. This is your personal time to work through all the struggles that you might be having as you relearn how to steward your body and reverse the issues that are coming up for you in your mental health. You do not have to struggle with brain fog, mood crashes, or low energy anymore. Your mental health is too important, and the solution starts with fixing your biological engine. The doors to the 3-session insulin reset are officially open. I'm going to be dropping a link right now in our chat. And there it is. That's my booking page. You can scroll down. There's the actual sign up for the insulin reset will be towards the bottom of the page there. Okay. Thank you so much for your time today. Let's stop just masking our symptoms and start healing our engines.